Hello, Tom's Comedy Club fans. Welcome back to Tom's Comedy Club. We're back with one comedian, 8 questions. Now, before I introduce my wonderful guest on today's episode, I will like to inform everyone that the Fringe starts very soon. So this year's version of the series will be coming towards a close whilst the Fringe goes on, and then next year we'll be back bigger and better than ever. Other housekeeping, the book that was written during the series 2 of the Misadventures of Albert Falport will be coming soon. Found a massive flaw that I didn't realise, page-wise. My own fault, not anyone else's. And so I have to fix that before I can publish it. And I have to sort of blag my way through to make it into a children's book without getting copyright or sued, which is always a challenge. On the main channel, Tom Mason, so episode 5 of Doctor Who Earthbound should be out tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Wonder whether I can be bothered. That's another witty joke that's not funny at all. Anyway, and we've got other nonsense coming soon. The Tom's like the Apollo edition should happen. Depending if anyone actually replies back to me about that. But hey ho. Anyway, let's get into one comedian 8 questions. Today, our guest is another guest that doesn't have to travel to get to the Fringe because she's already in Edinburgh, and she's possibly not related to Michael Jackson. It's the one and only Rachel Jackson.
Hi, hi. Hello.
So, just before we spin the wheel, can we just clarify? Are you related to Michael Jackson in any way, shape, or form?
No, but I used to actually tell people in primary school that he was my uncle.
Wow.
Obviously, this was in the 90s, but yeah, and people believe me. People are dumb at primary school. People believe me that he was my uncle.
Well, I used to tell people that I was somehow related to Neil Armstrong, which in primary school you think it's true, and then he dies, and then the family members don't seem to have any recollection of ever meeting him. So we've learned there's a slight connection to him, but it's not as believable as I thought it was. that
I don't even believe that he landed on the moon.
Who knows where he landed? He might have landed in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's crack on to the wheel. Let's spin the wheel with question number 1, or whatever one is in any other language. Let's see what we get. Let's see. What do we get? Here we go. The most interesting question. How did you get into comedy?
Accidentally, because I was an actress for a long time, and I went to drama school, and I was just like, I was sort of fed up of, like the sort of kind of unjustness of the acting industry and how you're kind of just waiting on someone else to give you roles, and like I need to make my own work. So I wrote a one-woman show, like not thinking it was stand-up or anything, just thought it was kind of like a funny play. And then through that, I was getting kind of bored of doing the exact same lines every night. So I started coming out of it and chatting to the audience. And before I knew it, people were coming up to me and going, "Oh, how long have you been doing stand-up for?" And I was like, "Huh?" Like I genuinely, honestly, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, as in like I didn't even realize how funny I was. I didn't feel like that at all. But I didn't honestly know that I'd kind of created a stand-up show without realizing it. And now, yeah, and now stand-up's my life. I've given up acting and everything, and like stand-up is my life.
Wow, everything could change in a drop of a hat.
Yes.
Life's never set in the same way. I'll stop with the emotional quotes. No more. Doris, if you're crying, shut up, Doris. Calm yourself. Wipe those tears off your eyes. That's an awful Mumbles reference that no one will get apart from me. Right. We'll move swiftly on before we get into any holes any deeper. Here is question number 2. What is it going to be? Now, let's see how good your memory is. This is always a good test of people's memory. What was the first comedy you went to see, like live? I think I meant live comedy. I missed the word live there, but I meant live comedy.
As in like the first kind of stand-up comedian I saw?
Just comedy in general, really.
Okay. I remember seeing Mark Watson at the Fringe years ago. I must have been 18. And a line just stuck with me. Because he was talking about like, remember those adverts for I can't believe it's not butter.
Oh yeah.
because it was like utterly believable or whatever, utterly believable, and it was just the way he said, "You can't believe it's not butter," and it's like, well, I think we can now, like the amount going on about it, and it was just, I don't know why that stuck with me, like, but I just loved it.
I just don't understand the marketing to that. Why would someone come up with, I can't believe it's not butter? You're gonna buy butter, but you can't believe it's not.
Yeah, I know, it was sort of like, yeah, we get it. You've sort of rinsed that advertising. I think we can now. And it was just, it's like about delivery. Just like funny concept, but even funnier delivery.
Yeah.
And I just always, yeah, just that's kind of like my first, like my memory of like maybe seeing, because I was like 18, that was probably the first time I saw like a stand-up show. And I just, that line just always stuck with me.
Well, for this series, I interviewed Vic Slayton, and we mentioned Mark Watson, and we shall mention Mark Watson once again. I called him a drug. It was like a drug. Like once you hear Mark Watson and you laugh at him, then you get the comedy drug, and then you're addicted.
Yeah.
Which is true, apart from it's not illegal. That's
Yeah,
it's a legal drug that the whole family can take.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, it depends on
It's
what.
utterly believable.
Yeah. I've done that again. I've called Mark Watson a drug. I do apologise, Mark Watson, if you are watching. I've got some inside knowledge that he might be watching, but if you are, I do apologise for calling you a drug.
A good drug.
Yeah, a good drug.
Predictive.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Let's see what the next question will give us before I upset anyone else. This is right. This might be an old phrase now, because obviously there's 3 different TV shows that use the name, but I'm not on about the TV show. Have you ever been starstruck? Not as in the TV shows that are on telly, but as in when you meet someone famous, not you turn it into a famous person.
I'm just trying to think, because I have, like, I don't mean a pure name drop, but I have met some famous people like along the way in this industry, and I haven't really been starstruck. But because at the end of the day, as much as I respect these people and I look up to them, we're all human. Like, we're all human, and you get a bit kind of like, it is a bit mad. Like, I remember we were in Portugal once as a big family holiday, and there was a woman, like a girl from Coronation Street, was like on the same like holiday resort as us, and we saw her out a couple of nights, and all my family were like, oh my god, the girl from Coronation Street, and I remember just sort of being like, and what? Like, but I don't know. I mean, everyone's different, but I Christian Bale is my favorite actor. He's been my favorite actor since I was 18 years old. I'm 34 now. And I dream about him consistently. Most of the time, I just dream about him because I just love him, and I think he's an amazing actor, and I think he's so badass. And I do think if I met Christian Bale, it's not often that I'm speechless, but I just think I would. I don't even know how I would react. It's hard to tell.
Wow.
Because he's my hero, and
Yeah.
they say never meet your heroes.
They do. And that's an interesting. But the word starstruck, when it comes to it, is a construct that not many people use anymore, apart from if you're ITV and Rose Mastersdale both at the same time. One's good, one's bad. You made that decision. I won't tell you that answer, Rose Mastersdale. And I feel like it's hard to, because now celebrities come in all different shapes and sizes, from people on the interweb to people that were famous anyway, such as from Whoopi Goldberg to I can't think of the
some YouTuber's name that you can't remember. That sounds about right.
Just a random comedian.
Whoopi Goldberg. That was a good choice, though. That was a very good choice.
Yeah, because she's quite famous in 2 different ways. One, for being a comedian. 2, for being a comedian and a friend of Adam Hill's. Because you can't go wrong with Adam Hill's his friend, and there's Whoopi Goldberg and Billy Connolly's. I'll not forget, she's also Billy Connolly's friend.
Yeah, Billy Connolly.
Yeah. What an amazing person. I recently bought a vinyl of his for £2. Just amazing. A lot of the songs are to do with wellies. I don't think they are songs per se, but he loves his wellies.
Yes.
Uh,
The banana, he's got the banana ones and all that, right?
yeah, he's a man of many talents. Anyway, back to where I was circling back to. So,
Mhm.
my first ever time meeting a famous person was some blog that lives near me, was in Coronation Street. I don't remember his name, which isn't the point. And I never saw his face. I was studying the song because I was out somewhere and they all met him in the classroom. I was studying the song, never saw his face, heard him speak. I said, okay. And then he walked off and I walked off. I never,
Hey.
I'll never know what he looks like. It was the one day of the year that it was really hot and sunny. Welcome to Britain. Right, so let's
Yeah.
do the next question before I upset anyone else or say I can't see.
I think we've like offended Coronation Street enough. I think we need to move on.
We need
You
to
know, I
move,
think
we need to move on to Neighbours.
yeah, exactly.
They're going to end soon anyway, so they won't mind.
Have you heard that Margot Robbie though is going back to the last episode?
Yeah, I've heard that. My mum has no idea who she is, which is shocking because she's seen Suicide Squad.
But I thought, you know what, I like that because I thought, you know what, I love when people don't forget where they came from. I love that.
Yeah.
And she knows that she owes a lot of her success to Neighbours because that's how she was discovered. And so I just think good on her that she's not like, oh, I'm too big for this now, or you know, just kind of like showing support for a beloved show that gave her break.
Well, she became good friends with a lot of them, with a lot of her neighbours. That was awful. Awful. Yeah. But I also heard, well, before we go on to the next one, I also heard that Jason Donovan and his daughter are both coming back at the same time.
Okay.
As a family duo. So
Mhm.
we hopefully will get to see the reunite of Jason Donovan and Kylie and their on-screen daughter that they never made it to.
Yeah.
They went at her wedding. That might be the final storyline. The final episode might be, why did she not come to my wedding? A whole episode.
Yeah. And then because the finale will be so good and it'll be filled with all these big stars, they'll probably just like go, oh, we can't cancel it now.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we'll never get rid of Neighbours ever.
No, but before we finish out, just to wrap up our Neighbours chat, we will say this, that Channel 5 did replace Neighbours with the Channel 5 version of Cash in the Attic. That's what they're spending money on. Cash in the Attic. Weird. Right. So the next question is this is another memory one. What was the first joke you told?
The first jokes I told, wow. I mean, I was always the class clown. I got a lot of punishment exercises at school just for kind of constantly. I remember I got in a lot of trouble because I pinged a spatula in like chemistry and it broke not a Bunsen burner, but I broke one glass, you know. But you know what school's like.
Yeah.
But I was always just trying to. It's like, you know what, a lot of people say this, like you were sort of becoming a comedian without realizing it, because I was just always trying to get the validation of others because it's the easiest way to make people like you, isn't it? It's just making them laugh. But I can't remember like the first actual jokes apart from when I wrote my first show, Bunny Boiler, that was all about my kind of hectic love life. And my most proud joke from that show was when I was sort of saying about how, oh, you know, everyone's always like, oh, if you met the one, if you met the one. And I was like, but I believe there's more than one for everyone. Like he's one of the ones. And I love that joke because it's just like, you know, I think it's crazy for people to think that there's only one person for you throughout your whole life. Like, how mad is that to think that?
It's mad because there's nearly a billion people, so
yeah,
not everyone can have one. It costs too much at the end of the day. Yeah, that's interesting because it's hard because when you ask what's the first joke you told, it depends on in what context, whether or not you're telling your first knock joke or you're telling yourself a joke that you make yourself laugh. Yeah, I do that all the time. I make myself laugh.
That's the most important thing, to be honest with you. I always think, forget about critics, whatever. As long as you think you're funny, who cares what anyone else thinks? I really do believe that.
It's all about you don't need the way I work it out is that when you tell a joke, if someone laughs, like if there's a noise of laughter, then you've told a joke that's funny. No matter where the noise comes from, it might come in your head or wherever. It,
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter where the noise is from. It's validation from somewhere.
yeah. Now we'll move on to our next question, and I'm assuming it's number 4, but I haven't been keeping count. It's like I've
I
decided
think
to.
we're done. I can't. Yeah, I've not been. I think
Well,
it's been 3 so far.
who knows? I'm not very good at maths, and I decided to do a series where it involves numbers. I think I might have hindered myself there. This is why when I do my panel shows, I don't involve points because I can't add up.
Bless you.
Yeah, I'm not very good at maths. That is my that's my comical trait. Not very good at maths, but I involve maths in everything I do.
Well, it's good that you're challenging yourself.
Yeah,
That's what they say.
it's definitely a challenge. So this is a question that could go on forever. Let's see. Who is one comedian you'd love to be on the bill with? So if you're having one of those comedy nights where you're on with several comedians, who is your dream comedian to be on the bill with?
I have to say Dave Chappelle, just because I love him. I think he's fantastic. I know he got into a bit of bother recently, but I've just been a fan of his for a long, long time.
And that is out any time I've ever asked any question about people's favorite comedian. That's the first time we've ever had an American comedian mentioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of, but for me, I just think American comics are next level.
There's a lot of them. I'll tell you that now. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of comedians everywhere, apart from the comical joke that there's not many in New Zealand. That's a joke. That's a joke they run with. Which I don't believe. But there is Netflix. Loves showing off a lot of American comedians.
Mm.
And one of the best series on Netflix for stand up. This is a recommendation now. It's a series where they had where each episode was a different country, and they had comedians from that country doing the stand.
Yes, I have heard about that show. Yeah, because was I think Joe List was on as one of them. I think.
Yeah, Ashley B was on it. Nish Kumar was on it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you who else I love. Like, because Dave Chappelle's my favorite male comedian, but my favorite female comedian is Amy Schumer. I absolutely love her, and I know again she gets a lot of stick, but I don't listen to other people's opinions. You know, like so many people are like, oh, she's not funny or and I just think, well, I think she's brilliant, so I'm not gonna engage with a conversation about like why I shouldn't be allowed to I just think it's crazy. People tell you who you can and can't find funny.
Well, she's currently starring in Only Murders in the Building series 2.
Mm-hmm.
And she's playing herself.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she.
I just think she's fantastic.
In the show, in series 1, Sting was owned an apartment, and then she bought Sting's apartment.
I love it. I'll have to check it out because I think she's such a brilliant actress. Again, you know how I was saying about Mark Watson, just the delivery of that one line. I just think Amy Schumer's delivery, it's just next level. I just love it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's next level in comedy is Next Up comedy, which is a really good segue that was. Right, let's. Yeah, I try my best. Wait, right. So let's see how well you know this answer, because not everyone has an answer for this, because some people think too big. What is your dream comedy club to perform in?
My dream comedy club to perform in. That's a really good question, actually. Because I've played a lot of the comedy clubs in the UK. It would have to be one of the big ones in New York, I think, like the Comedy Cellar, I think maybe.
Yeah.
The Comedy Cellar, or the Comedy Store in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and what I like about this question is because a lot of comedians now say they want to perform at Wembley Arena and all of this, and it's good to, and obviously that's too big for a lot of people.
I don't think I'd find enjoyment out of that, because I actually like seeing the audience. I like seeing. I just like I like being with them, and that's what makes I think a brilliant show is like when you're all in it together. And an arena, I just wouldn't feel that.
Yeah, and it's like if Richard Herring, he's a good example. If he performed in Wembley, he wouldn't have known the occupation of the front row of his audience if he was
Yeah,
in the Leicester Square Theatre, because he now knows who's a archaeologist and who's a
of
dermatologist.
course. Yeah, I just don't think stand up suited for arenas at all. I just don't. I mean, look, I could be proven wrong. I mean, look, if Amy Schumer asks me to be her tour support and it's arenas, suddenly I'll be like, yeah, arenas are great.
Yeah.
But just the way I'm feeling now, I prefer kind of like intimate, even more because I have played some decent like theatre size gigs and stuff, but they're just not the same as a comedy club where everyone's packed in, really close to the stage, dark lighting. I just love it.
Yeah. And they say comedy is the new rock and roll, and that makes rock and roll the new classical music. That's a topical joke there. That's not topical at all. Would you, as a side question from that, would you ever want to perform on or at the Apollo?
What, like live at the Apollo?
Yeah, like the
Oh,
Apollo.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, again, I would love to do it. I would be honored to be asked, and I would absolutely love to do it. But I've heard so many rumors about that show and about the casting process and how they take 3 years to cast. And I mean, look, it might just be old wives' tales, but I don't know. I feel like quite passionate about the fact that you just hardly ever see Scottish acts on these shows, and it's something that just kind of appalls me because there's so many good Scottish comics that aren't big names like Frankie Boyle, and it's like I don't know. I just feel like Live at the Apollo and stuff. If you were to do a tally of how many like English comedians compared to how many Scottish or Welsh or Northern Irish or whatever, I just think it's just so English.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
know I sound pure William Wallace when I say that, but it is. It's just like so English, man. Get some more Scottish acts on.
Well, you could probably pitch the Live at the Apollo Scottish edition, where it's not.
Yes, that would be amazing. Can you imagine a whole episode or a whole series of Live at the Apollo where it was all Scottish acts? That would be amazing.
But instead of filming it at the Apollo, they make it an ironic joke that it's not at the Apollo, it's somewhere else. It's like Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast. He's not always in the Leicester Square Theatre.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it
He feels
could
like
be
a fraud.
yeah, it could be a joke. It could be a whole joke. It could be BBC Scotland
Yeah,
instead of having Jack D, so it's like go back to the old format where it's Jack D hosting it. Instead of having Jack D, you get Mark Nielsen because he's friends with BBC Scotland. He's got
yeah. Oh, I love Mark. I was actually gigging with Mark last night, and he's so brilliant because he was hosting the show last night,
yeah,
and he's just so good with the audience. Just I've never really seen crowd work like it, where it's just so natural. Where it's like, and I know, like he's been going for a long time, and so yeah, of course he should be good. But I can't explain it. You just watch him with the audience, and he just, I can't explain it. It's just so good the way
well,
he kind of puts them at ease and gets them laughing, and it's brilliant.
well, as I say to most people, he is. I don't mention Mark Nielsen in general. It's just as a general concept. If he is on my metaphorical long list of people that I would love to interview, because he is amazing, and his BBC Radio Sounds podcast program that turned into a TV pilot are amazing, and he did the Edinburgh Fringe. He was the first person to ever take a camera up to the Fringe and put it on TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he did his after show. He did like what the sports do. He did the after show, and then this year we've got Next Up Comedy headed up there to
I
like
see.
one of the best things he did was he got one of the Scottish blind comedians and made him watch a yoga show where she was a comedian but doing yoga.
Yeah.
And it was all about you're supposed to see what's going on. Yes, it's all about seeing. But they decided to get a blind comedian to go and watch it. It didn't really work, and that's the whole joke he made about it. He said
Yeah.
it sounded good. I don't know whether it looked good, but I
Yeah.
interviewed her afterwards.
Yeah.
He then had to talk to her and had to try and work out how to explain that he can't see a thing.
Aye. And
Yeah.
that was Jamie Mcdonald you're talking about, and he's
Yeah.
hilarious. He's hilarious as well. This is what I mean. There's so many good Scottish acts, male and female, brilliant, brilliant Scottish acts, and I know, you know, a lot of us feel the same. It's just like, come on, give us a chance.
Yeah.
Give
Well,
us a chance.
if the BBC or Channel 4 are watching, or BBC or ITV, but highly doubt ITV have got interest in comedy anymore.
Mhm.
Nip up to Scotland and see how many comedians. Write a list, and then you can work out
Exactly.
what you need to do. Fix it, because even though the British English side of Great Britain, if I get my geography correct, are all right. We're all right. We're hilarious, but nip up to Scotland every so often, and then go the other way to Wales if you've got enough time.
Exactly. Just kind of like venture out of, because I remember even like, because I lived in London for a long time before I was a comedian. Funnily enough, like when I was an actress, I lived in London for like 7 years, and I love London, and I love visiting there. I love going to see my pals in there and stuff. But I don't miss living there. But I feel like it's so old fashioned now. For like, I had a comedian a couple of years. It was before the pandemic, and I can't remember the conversation we're having. But a comedian I really respect sent me a text back saying, "Well, you just need to move to London. There's no two ways about it. Like, if you want your career to progress, you need to be in London." Like, what do you mean I have to be in London? Like, but I just thought, why should you ever have to live in one part of, especially when the UK is so small? It's not like you know, being in LA or New York when America is so big. It's like the UK is so tiny that you can get from Edinburgh to London in 4 hours. It's like, you know, so I just never really got that kind of. I just think it's really sad that people still think that's a thing.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned there that London's old-fashioned. Well, the other day, I don't live in London, but I can guarantee it's the same in London. The other day, I saw a horse and carriage, so it is sort of old-fashioned.
Yeah, their views and their horses are stuck back then.
Yeah, yeah. Probably not on the street. That's the positive about it. The streets aren't covered in poo like they used to, because we respect horses more, and the horses have their own dignity to worry about. Right, now we move on to question number 6. Let's see what it's going to be. Anticipation, I like to call this. And we'll skip again because that was the same question as before. That's the same question as before. This
I know, when there's only a couple left.
Yeah. Here we go. This is the key question that, if never came up in the wheel, would also be mentioned afterwards, because then this series would be pointless. This is going to be the most important question you'll get asked today.
Okay.
What is your Edinburgh Fringe show about?
Oh, cool. So my Edinburgh Fringe show, it's called Almost Famous. I'm doing it at the Stand Comedy Club at 1:20 p.m. every day. And it's about all the times I thought I was so damn close to fame, and how I kind of can't believe that, because 2019 was such a brilliant year for me. And, you know, it was almost like, you know, when you read someone's autobiography, like a famous comedian or whatever, it felt like that. It felt like 2019 was the year of like just before someone makes it. It was like good thing after good thing after good thing after good thing. And then I got dumped on WhatsApp, Almost Famous, because I feel like I'm so damn close. Like, I've achieved loads of cool stuff, but I've just not, you know, I'm not like hit the big time yet. But obviously it's a tongue in cheek joke, you know, all the situations I've been in where I thought, oh, this is it, this is it. But it's also mixed in with my real life health condition, mental health condition, OCD, which I've never ever spoken about publicly. And a few of my friends said, some of your stories about how extreme your OCD is it's funny, and it could help a lot of people, because I still believe that OCD is like the black sheep of the mental illness community. And I'm sort of exploring that a lot in my show, because people don't want to talk about intrusive thoughts and stuff because it just sounds weird and scary and it makes people uncomfortable. But well, that's it. That's OCD. So, and unless we start talking about it and kind of all, because I feel like so many people have it, but are embarrassed, and like, I don't mean to get dramatic, I know, you know, it's a comedy thing, but there's so many suicides, and sometimes I think that a lot of suicides are down to OCD, just because people are so ashamed of their thoughts that they see no other option than to end their life. And I just think, God, like, we need to start talking about it. We need to start talking about OCD. It's like it's an epidemic, in fact. And I just thought, I'm just going to be brave, and I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to talk about how weird my brain can be and these horrible thoughts that I have that make it, because it's a stand up. And I don't want it to be one of those typical Edinburgh Fringe shows that's like, got a real sad bit in it. I even wrote that on the flyer. I've said, I also talk about my debilitating illness, OCD, but there's not a sad bit in it, and it's wet your pants funny, because I don't want people to read the flyer and go, oh God, is it another, like, as they say, the dead dad show or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's I think it's hilarious. Hopefully it is.
Well, from what you've said there, the one piece of advice I think people might need, as you might know already, to bring a spare change of clothing, because you said it's quite funny. So I'm assuming people need to bring a spare pair of pants.
Well, I feel like I should retract that now, because that is too much pressure. If I'm saying everyone needs to bring a nappy because it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think there's some really strong. I think it's my strongest show yet. I'm so proud of it. But like I say, some of it is quite daunting, because it really is stuff that, it's like kind of the darkest, deepest thought you could have, really. And I'm kind of announcing it to, well, not the world, but to the Edinburgh Fringe, and I feel scared but excited, because I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing by doing the show. So yeah.
And so if so I don't know why I said what if, but where can people buy tickets? Where is the go-to place to hunt down?
So yeah, you can get it a couple places. You can get it at the Stand Comedy Club website. So even if you just type in Rachel Jackson Almost Famous, that'll take you straight to the Stand website. You can also get it on the Ed Fringe website. But I do think the Stand website's easier to work than the Edinburgh Fringe website. So I had to get my little dig in there after the no app this year. So yeah.
Yeah. I am going to ask this, because I'm not actually asked this yet, and I should have done this from the get-go, but I should have added it into Will. But what is your opinions on the lack of an app this year?
I just think it's absolutely disgraceful. It is disgraceful. And the Edinburgh Fringe, the people who run it and have come out with these statements saying we can't afford it. They're charging us all, because I actually tweeted them. I was like, look, you've got over 3,000 shows. We're all paying £400. Calculate that. That's over £1 million, right? It's dirt cheap to make an app, from what I've heard. I mean, look, I don't know much about apps. I couldn't do it, right? But let's say it's not. Basically, I just think they've spent all their money on their nice salaries and their bonuses and their parties, and now they thought no one would notice, and everyone kicked off. But the annoying thing is this is why we need to strike. Like, imagine if we all just said, well, look, we're not doing it. We're not doing the Fringe until you set up the app. And I just feel like it's hard, because we love performing too much to not do it. So I just think we all need to have a bit more backbone and just say, and also, why are we still giving the Edinburgh Fringe such, don't get me wrong, there's been amazing success stories out of it, and I personally love doing it, because you get better, because you do an hour of stand-up every day, and it sharpens you, and you learn so much and everything. But let's be honest, when you see so many comedians now making it because of Instagram or TikTok, or just building up their own following for whatever reason, or for how, it's just, it feels dated, and it kind of annoys me that we all, well, not all of us, because there's a lot of comedians who refuse to do the Fringe, and kind of good on them, but I just wonder why we still kind of are all, putting our cap out, please, please, and it's just getting more. And the thing is, I am a privileged comedian. I've been working class all my life, and it's the one time I'm privileged comedian, because I get to stay at my mum and dad's for the month, because I live in Hartlepool normally, but I stay at my mum and dad's every time I do the Fringe for free, and so I don't really have to spend much money on Edinburgh, but that's not me saying that because it's okay for me, it's all right for everyone else, because it's not, and it's ridiculously expensive, and it's a joke. It's a joke. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Sorry, I know you asked me about the app, and I've just gone on a pure rant, but I don't know what the answer is. I just think that something needs to change. They need to stop lying to us, for one thing. And oh my God, I got this most patronising email from them, that because they obviously know they've messed up, and they know that a lot of people are mad with them. And they sent an email the other day. I don't know if you saw this. It was something about, TikTok partnership with the Edinburgh Fringe and all that. And I just thought, all we've asked for is an app. It's not rocket science. See, if, you know how to make an app, you know how to make an app. And apparently they hadn't had one from 2019 that just needs updated. So you just think, I don't know. Like I say, I don't know much about technology, but I can't see what their problem is. And they shouldn't be pleading poverty. They've got a lot more money than all of us put together.
well, we need to petitions. But for anyone that's now confused with everything we've just said, what is the Edinburgh Fringe? What was the Edinburgh Fringe app? For anyone that is still confused.
Yeah, so the Edinburgh Fringe app is just a way of finding shows. So you could be wandering around Edinburgh, it could be 3 p.m., and you just are thinking, right, I want to see a show at 3:30. So let's go in the app and it'll show you a map of where you are and go like what shows are starting soon, what's close, and then you can read the little bio. And so it was just a really good way in this day and age, it's 2022, for people to find acts that they wouldn't maybe normally know about. And so yeah, so I think we're all just sort of scrambling our heads like, in the year 2022, you haven't got an app and they're relying on this brochure when we're all, one minute we're told about global warming and climate change and recycling and plastic and blah, blah, blah. And then the next minute, oh no, it has to be the brochure. It's like,
yeah. And so the best way I reckon, right, we can either do that thing that everyone does and go on change.org and sign the petition, which sometimes, well, I've never actually seen a success story about it. So we can either, or every time the Edinburgh Fringe account on all social platforms posts something, you can always just comment, bring back the app, and then you just have like millions of comments and they're all the same thing. Until they notice and change
yeah,
the
it's
way.
just annoying because they have noticed and they do know that they're in the wrong, yet they're still, I mean, I don't know. It's all very political, isn't it? That's why I do what I do and I don't work in politics, or because it just feels like you're constantly being lied to, constantly being, they're kind of gaslighting us by talking about how poor they are. And you're
Well,
like,
yeah.
what?
Well, they need to fix that. So now let's go on to question. I'm assuming it's number 7. We'll say number 7 anyway because I feel like it. And let's see if we can bring it back to lightheartedness because we brought the mood down together.
Yes, we did, but in a passionate way, because I just think like nothing gets solved if we don't moan. And it's like, it's like well-behaved children don't get attention. It's like, what is it like? It's the bad behaved kids that get the sweeties and get the, so it's like we need to cause a fuss. And there was one comedian I saw who actually suggested that. He went, why don't we all essentially riot against the Fringe and say, like, we're not doing it until you get an app, none of us are going to turn up in Edinburgh. Can you imagine like what that would do to the economy?
That would the tourist board would be really upset.
So it's like, but then so why didn't that happen? Is my point. Why didn't? Because I saw that tweet and I thought, oh, brilliant idea. And then people are kind of liked it. Good idea, man. Good idea, man. And it's like, well, just do it then. Let's do it. Like we've got the power.
Yeah.
I sent a tweet to the Edinburgh Fringe. I said, you don't have a festival without us. What are you going to put on without the artists?
Well, they would
didn't even reply.
have to work out some way of solving it. But my final will to wrap up this conversation about the annoyance of the Fringe before we get back into the lightheartedness of the Fringe, the good bits. I reckon that if Comedy Central are listening, they should do a whole round in Jason Manford to the complaint departments about it to get it on the telly because that's a program all about complaints.
Well, definitely, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's listening. So the 7th question is a light-hearted question. What is your one piece of advice for someone performing at the Edinburgh Fringe for the first time? This could be the performing comedy, or they could be doing what a woman did last year when she poured milk on herself for an hour.
God, my first, and this is from like personal experience. Don't spend a penny on PR. And I think a lot of comedians are starting to say that now, and it feels good because I wish I'd known that when I debuted. But you're younger when you're or newer. I mean, not necessarily younger because you can start comedy at any age. But when you're debuting your show, I was very new into comedy. Most people like wait a few years before they debut, but I didn't know much about it. Like I said, I'd gone straight from drama school and been an actress. I was only a stand-up comedian for 1 year before I did my debut, which is pretty unusual. But so I was very inexperienced in terms of like advice and like I didn't know anything about the comedy industry really, and I just had all this pressure on me. You've got to spend this on that, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and you've got to, and it just sucked the joy. It sucked all the joy out of my debut show, which should have been fun because you're debuting and and the pressure that is put on, like the best newcomer prize, and it was obscene. It was completely obscene. And so that would be my first: is you don't have to spend money on PR. You don't. You can get press in other ways. Like, I'm very inventive in the way that I get press. I applied for Popmaster a few weeks ago, the Radio 2 show with Ken Bruce, and I got on. And yeah, and millions of people listen to that because I love music too. It wasn't like I was just some daft girl phoning in trying to say, you know what I mean? Like, I love music and I listened to it so much with my dad. He really got me into Popmaster. And it was a couple of weeks ago, it just suddenly pinged. I think it was around the time the app thing was kicking off and everyone was really angry about it. And I was suddenly thinking, and it was like, it came to me like, you should go on Popmaster because it's got such a big listenership. That's worth way more than spending $3,000 on PR.
Yeah.
Like, doing a wee radio show that's got maybe, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million listeners a day. I don't know. Like, maybe I don't know the figures, but they have a lot. It's a big, listenership. And I sold a lot of tickets that day. Like, I actually noticed my tickets jump up. So yeah, that would be my number one advice: is don't pay for PR.
Yeah.
Find ways to get your own PR, because there's loads of ways you can do it.
Yeah. And that's what's fun about promoting stuff. Now, you can promote stuff in any way you like. You don't have to go on to telly and go, I'm doing this wherever, or spend money. You can now go on to the internet and go, I'm doing this. And if 4 people see it, 4 people see it. But those 4 people might see it and go, that sounds interesting, and share it with 4 more.
Exactly. And I'm starting to see in life, because I think as we all get older and we get more mature and more like wise, I'm starting to see that truly even little opportunities matter.
Yeah.
Because everyone's guilty of wanting the big break, and and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but that only happens to maybe 1% of like, singers, actors, dancers, models, comedians. So it's like, for the rest of us who don't get like an instant break, which is 99% of us, we have to just keep working. And I'm starting to value every small opportunity now, rather than just being like, oh, why isn't Live at the Call called, or why hasn't Mock the Week had me on? Because yeah, that's cool to do those things, but like it's like the butterfly effect. Everything you do leads to something else. And so I think it's having like a passion for the actual, like, I know it sounds cheesy, that Aerosmith lyric, like, life's a journey, not a destination, but it's true. And I feel like I genuinely am starting to get that now. I didn't get that 10 years ago.
Well, as Steps always say, it's the chain reaction. Which not many people will get that. But I think it's now, you don't have to do a certain thing to become really famous. It's like you just get out there and show your stuff. So like, let's think. Looking, I think he's called. Oh no, Mo Gilligan. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might get this horrendously wrong. Let's find out. He started out on social media and then became this global, like, this famous person. It's same with Munya Chow, however you pronounce his name. I'm not going to attempt that. But he started on social media and then had his own BBC Three show and been off back leg, and it's all because of the internet. And so you don't need to spend money, because the internet, well, you have to pay for the internet, but the stuff you do on the internet most of the time is free.
Yeah, I think everyone's starting to feel that now, that like, you really can build your own audience. Like, yeah, it takes time, and some people do it quicker than others, and blah blah blah. But there's something about, you just feel a bit more in control of your own life. And that's what I like about being a comedian, because I never felt in control of my own life when I was an actress, because you're just kind of waiting for the phone to ring, or waiting for someone to give you a chance to audition for them. And with comedy and being a stand-up, you write your own work, you can perform every night if you want, like, open mics, whatever, like if you just want to practice a new bit or whatever. So it's like, and what I'm trying to say is exactly with the internet, it's just showing that, yeah, you don't have to go, like, you have to debut, and then you have to do your big debut at the Edinburgh Fringe, and it has to be the Edinburgh Fringe, and everyone's like just so obsessed with the Fringe, and it's sort of like, it's 2022. How has it still got such a power over everyone? Like, it's something I'm genuinely wondering. Like, I sort of don't know why, when the internet's become so powerful. So I don't know.
Well, there's now other versions of Fringe. The word Fringe is now synonymous with comedy, but you can go to the Edinburgh Fringe, the Brighton Fringe. You're fringing your hair. You can do
exactly.
that'll be that. I can just imagine that now. You're telling a joke to your hair, and it's like your worst gig you've ever done because it doesn't respond back. Right, let's move on to our final question of the. I'm gonna say the evening, but it's mid-afternoon, not evening. Let's see. Let's spin the wheel again because we're just gonna repeat question. Um, Here we go. This question would is sort of. I might have to explain if it makes no sense, but let's work it out, right? What comedian would you love to go on tour with, like as a support act?
Well, the first name that comes to mind is my friend Susan Riddle, who's a brilliant Glaswegian comedian, purely because we're just best friends and we just love each other and we get on so well. So in terms of like um we could do like a double headliner show or something. And just because we're just like we're the opposite, but you know how they say opposites attract. Like I love sugar, she loves salt, I love weed, she loves booze. It's like everything that could be different, it is. But so I just feel like, yeah, if I was going to go on tour with someone, I'd want it to be someone that I can have a laugh with.
Yeah, and the question this question came about because there's Jason Manford does this interesting thing where every time he goes to a new place, everywhere he performs, he gets a local comedian to do the support act, and that's what I quite liked about it because it's like, oh, you've got someone on it that's not well known enough, and it's giving them their
A chance.
metaphorical big break.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love when I see bigger acts like really helping out, smaller acts. I think it's basically just paying it forward, and I think everyone should do that. And you have to hold me to account once I'm bigger as well. It's like, Rachel, why haven't you had a smaller act support you yet? Look, I don't care. I'm rich now. No, no, I promise. I promise to keep passing it forward because I just think if everyone did that, it would be a more fair industry. So, you know,
And as they say in the sports world, which I'm not in, you have to pass the baton on. It's like a
absolutely.
relay race, but it's for the generations of Jason Manford's generation, which is Nish Kumar, James Akers, that lot now. They now pass it on to the younger generation, which are the next 20 summer comedians
Of
or
course.
whoever we're calling the next generation after them. What it's too many people do comedy now. You never know what generation you're in if you want to like that.
I'm a millennial, which sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought I was just too old to be a millennial, but no, I'm still a millennial.
and and uh, and that's what's interesting because so many people do comedy now. It's hard to it's hard to justify going around with one comedian because that one comedian might be your best friend and your best friend might be a really big comedian. And so having smaller support acts means that they get more chance to gig and they get a chance more audiences get a chance to see what other comedies like, not just it's not like your northern humour, like Jason Manford or the Manchester jokes. And then if you're in like Liverpool, you would have a Liverpudlian person joining, and it's a different aspect.
Totally.
Because it's like because comedy isn't just standing in front of a mic talking. Some of it's like musical, some of it's pretending to be bad at comedy when you're not bad at it at all.
Yeah, characters and yeah,
Yeah,
there's all sorts.
yeah, and it's a wide range. So there we go. That is the one comedian, 8 questions. Now the next job for you to do is to remind everyone when your show's on and whereabouts, which theatre you'll be performing at.
Perfect. So yeah, my show's called Almost Famous. It's on from the 4th till the 28th of August, 1:20 p.m. every day at the Stand Comedy Club. It's Stand 2. That's the name of the venue, but you'll figure that out once you book your ticket. And it's only like a 40-seater room. It's a lovely little room. I saw Fern Brady there a few years ago, and it's like I feel honoured that the Stand have given me like that room now. And it's a lovely little room. And yeah, just please come and support. And especially, I would say, just any OCD sufferers or anyone who might know someone with OCD or whatever, maybe encourage them to maybe try and see it. But like that's why I kind of do want to put a trigger warning on it because the stuff I talk about. Because the problem with OCD is you can get new obsessions by hearing about other people's obsessions. So if you are prone to OCD, I'm kind of, trying to give people a bit of a trigger warning. But I feel really empowered by it, so I'm excited.
Yeah. And after the Fringe, where can people see you online? Don't give away your house address. I love that one. That's one of my favorites. Don't give away your house address or an address of any relatives. But where can they see you from a safe distance? Where safely can they see you?
Honestly, all over. Like, I try and do that thing that people, where you post your gigs every month, but sometimes I forget. But I should really get like a mailing list or something sorted out. Sorry, this isn't answering your question at all. But basically, I gig all over the UK. So the best thing to do is to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, because I always list like where I'm on, and I retweet stories and all that kind of stuff. So retweet stories. That's showing my age. I meant repost stories. So yeah, basically if you follow me online, you'll find out where I'm performing at next.
And there you go. So this has been a wonderful chat. The Edinburgh Fringe is starting soon, so get excited for two reasons. One, because it's in Edinburgh, and if you're going up there, hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't rain as much as you think. And second of all, it's also going to be on. Some of it will be on Next Up Comedy, over 50 plus shows. And so hopefully we get. Hopefully the shows that they're going to announce are rather lesser, like not just the two big theatres that they've already announced. They're going to be filming at, and yeah, hopefully the Fringe is going to be amazing. Everyone's going to have a lovely time, or if they see any members that actually work for the Fringe, the people that work for them, hopefully someone gives them a piece of the mind and says, "Bring me back," or else I'm not coming back again. Just beg to them. Don't injure them. Let's play fair. Let's be nice. This is a family channel. We don't condone violence. We don't. So there we go. Go and see Rachel before she gets too famous enough for us gigs to be sold out in matter of seconds. I really don't like it when you hear horror stories of musicians where they put the thing on sale and then 4 seconds later it's all sold out.
Wild.
Yeah, wild. And that's normally Duran Duran. Yeah, that's a.
I do love it though, because of my OCD. Like, I'm just such an obsessive person, and I check my ticket sales every day, probably at least once half an hour every day. And I know that's extreme, but that's just the way my brain works, and I like to check on it because it gives me such a thrill. Every time I go on and I see that I've got a couple more sales, I'm like, and I write it all down, and I've got a tally of like every day and how many tickets have been sold for each day.
And so to bring the video to a close, the One Comedian 8 Questions might be coming to an end for this year. I say might because with possibility might have a few more to sneak in just before the Fringe begins, or before their run begins. I'm probably going to just give it a leeway if the run doesn't begin until like the 4th or something. But hopefully we'll be back next year with more One Comedian 8 Questions, even bigger, even better, even more complicated wheel where more questions could appear more than once and you have to skip it and then you forget what number you're on because you've gone loopy in the brain. And more, not my regular interviews, the interviews that don't require a wheel, will be happening across all the channels soon. I've got a few in the metaphorical pipeline. I don't own a pipe or a line. I own a patch of ground, not a pipe or a line. And other exciting stuff will be happening. Stay tuned to the Mind of Tom Mason to find out what's going on with the wild Mind of Tom Mason, because I've not ever confirmed that on YouTube what's happening with that. So stay tuned. That might be some nonsense, because if they don't call me Tom, they call me Mr. Nonsense. Woohoo! And remember, no, I've forgotten.